lineups right now. I was actually kind of hoping that Damian Williams, I meant Damian Harris would sit because I kind of wanted to see what Ramondre Stevenson could do this week, and I had him in quite a few leagues.
So yeah, he went back out in waivers in a couple leagues. I noticed.
Yeah, that's where I grabbed him this week. I ended up getting him pretty cheap.
Yeah, I had him in on a few bids, and I don't think I got him anywhere. I'll double check that. I could be wrong. You know how it is when you're just like got so many teams and you're not sure. You put waiver bid after waiver bid in.
Yeah, I find myself lately. I've been doing that Fantasy Pros expert ranking competition, and I find myself now more upset that I missed on a ranking than losing a week in fantasy.
Yeah.
He like goes off and he's on my bench, but I'm like, oh, but I had him ranked kind of high actually. So
yeah, makes it okay.
Yeah. So I got him. I didn't get him anywhere, but he's still available in 2 leagues. So
you know who was still available this week in a few leagues was Herbert that I was able to swoop up.
Oh my God.
Herbert. I found him in like 2 FBGs. There's the man, the myth, the legend.
What's up?
Cheers, brother. Cheers.
Oh. Cheers.
Andrew. Cheers.
A little hazy.
Oh, hell. Cheers.
IPA. It's a boogity boogie.
There he is.
7 p.m. somewhere. Right, Billy?
Yeah. It could be 7 a.m. I don't care.
7 a.m., whatever.
Hey, when you drink wine, you can at least say it's educational purposes every time.
I heard you say that in a show once. I was laughing out loud. That was hilarious.
JD, they shoved more adjectives on mine. They added oat, milk, and hazy to the IPA. So,
oh wow,
it's like an adjective salad on mine.
That gets too fancy, man.
So what are you drinking again there? Other than
it's a beer
salad.
Oat, milk, hazy IPA.
Sounds like breakfast.
Laminar flow, huh?
JD, the new camera is legit. What'd you get?
So I have to figure out how to get these numbers off, but it's a Sony A5000 that we had sitting in a bag doing nothing.
Oh, it's like a DSL camera?
Yeah, and my camera was awful, I'm sure. Like I was always the blurriest guy in the room. So my wife kept telling me, why don't you just try that camera? So finally I bought ordered all the pieces and stuff. Took a couple orders to get the right ones, but we got it going. And yeah, it's definitely clear. I got to work on the orange tint and whatever I got going on there, but we'll figure it out.
The sepia tone looks great.
The clarity is amazing. You can tell it's DSLR. I've been needing to do that. I like my webcam, but when we did that the Fantasy Data Showdown video that we did on the Best Ball for FF PC, did you see Fernando's camera from SI.com? Or not SI, from AS.com over there across the pond in Spain? And he does broadcasting over there, and he sent me all the attachment links and everything to get set up. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Your camera looks amazing now.
Thanks, man. Make me feel good. Took me a while to get it set up. So
none of us can top Andrew in his glowing crown, though.
Worth it. Looks good.
That's hilarious. So I gotta. Okay, well, we got questions, so we'll address the questions. We'll go back and forth, but I gotta ask. I want to know Billy's thoughts on Lance, on Trey Lance, Mr. San Francisco. Just what do you think of the first appearance? What do you think moving forward?
I was never high on Trey Lance. I was actually, if you go back and listen to prior to the draft, I was actually hoping the Niners stayed put at 12 or 14, wherever they were, and picked up Mac Jones. I just thought he was a more accurate passer. He's a system-based quarterback, and I thought it would fit well inside the Shanahan offense coming from, what he did with Matt Ryan and Atlanta. It just made sense to me. And then they gave up the farm and went after Trey Lance, who I had concerns about because of his lack of playing time in college. And, I think he was better than Jimmy G? Absolutely. But looking at week 1, you could see the struggles, and as you see in any rookie quarterback, they have some poor decision making. They're hesitant, whatever it may be. Overall, though, I have concerns. I don't own a lot of Lance just because I figured it was going to play out something similar to this. We were going to see a mixture of Jimmy G. I had assumed in the beginning of the year on the podcast talked about week 7 after the bye week. That's when I thought Lance was going to start, or if injuries, escalated that, and that's what happened. But I just don't think that Lance is ready, quite frankly. I mean, he has the rushing ability, but we saw what he did in the passing game, and I'm not saying Jimmy G is this, saving grace by any means, but he seemed to have a little bit more composure in the pocket, and he seemed to be able to hit his targets a little bit more. So, as somebody who owns a lot of Debo, I didn't really have faith at any quarterback in the Niners system, but I figured that Debo's ADOT from previous years would help out both these quarterbacks, and we're seeing a lot more down the field throws for Debo than we had in previous years. So, I guess long story short, I'm not a big fan of either quarterback here for my Niners. They'll get the job done simply because of the supporting cast and because of the Shanahan system, but I think that both quarterbacks are less than stellar.
Not ideal for sure.
So Lance, long term, are you?
I've cut him in all my leagues, actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for this year, I can get behind that. But what about like next year after,
like dynasty leagues? I kept him on in every league I owned him. Not many, just because I'm usually attacking positional players inside dynasty leagues, and I'm drafting people like Davis Mills and someone who I think may have an opportunity to hit. So I don't own many Trey Lance, but in the one or two leagues that I do own him in dynasty leagues, I just left him on the taxi, and that's where he'll stay until he's become what he's supposed to become.
There you go. Yeah, see, I like the system that he came from, and I like his raw talent, but I mean, man, he's raw,
very raw.
Doubt. So it's just one of those things. It's going to take some time.
And if he runs like he did last game, he's going to get injured. He's already injured, but he's going to get injured even more. Like, he can't be going in with those type of shoulder pads against, at the goal line like that. You're going to get crushed. And
yeah, he was playing RG3 style.
Yeah, you just YOLO out there. And I didn't think he was going to get up after that hit. Like, he got crushed on that 1 yard line. And
oh man, yeah, that was he got totally stoned right at the goal line there.
It's like you ran into a cement wall.
It was.
And I was like, oh, I don't think he's getting up.
That was better than an Oregon stone. I mean,
Dan, I don't have my soundboard out. You're rocking it right now.
Yeah, doing what I can. What we can live without the soundboard if you don't got it. So.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right. So
you want to go to Jimmy Pop?
Yeah, let's hit Jimmy and see what he's got here.
So he's basically asking AB or Manny Sanders for his flex. Khalil Herbert worth starting. I have D. Will and Jamal Williams. Who I could start over Herbert?
What's the scoring format?
Jimmy Pop, give us the goods.
I'm assuming it's PPR, but you never know. People still play in the Stone Age and play standard.
Yeah, I would imagine. Let's go off PPR.
Yeah.
I'm probably starting Herbert, honestly. He's probably going to see 80+%, if not 90% of the snap share here in the running back field with Damien Williams out. The other player is Ryan Nall, who, filled in at one game last year with injuries, but I just don't have any faith in Nall. So I'm going to say Herbert, who saw, was it 14, 15 carries last week? I can't remember off the top of my head. He saw a pretty good snap share with Damien Williams on the field, and you get the Green Bay Swiss cheese defense. So I think that Khalil Herbert's a fine play this week. And as much as I would like Antonio Brown, I'd probably start him over Antonio Brown this week based upon role and snap share.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if he's asking AB and Manny for a flex and then Khalil for running back over D. Will and Jamal.
Yeah, I think
Williams. I'm assuming D. Will is Darrell Williams, since it's probably not Damien. Maybe, I don't know.
It could be Darrell Williams. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I think I would probably start Khalil over any of the three. Basically, if it's Damien, then obviously he's got choices, but. And you don't have to decide that yet. So, there's still more information gathering time. But for AB or Manny, I think I'd go AB as long as everything's looking good with Brady's thumb. It's close, but I'd take AB over Manny.
Yeah, I guess the upside's there.
Yep.
I agree. I think revenge game narrative, to the extent you believe that, Although there is a question, I know, Dan, I think that you and I both follow somebody, hint, hint, wink, wink, who I think probably sitting in your dashboard. You haven't looked at it. But one of the guys that we follow was all over Godwin for anytime touchdown score or first touchdown score tonight. So you could make an argument that because it was an Evans AB game last week, maybe it's a Godwin game this week. In case Brady's spreading the love. So I do like AB there as well. If that is a contained question, I will tell you, Muzio, the one fun story, since this is like Thursday night nonsense. There was a game last year against Austin Martin. I flew a red eye back from Sonoma. Okay. Monday Night Football game must have been whatever the Ryan Nall game was, which is how I refer to it. Was so exhausted, but basically this game was for whether I get a top 2 seed in a main event. And I literally had to fade Ryan Nall for 7 or 8 points or whatever. And
didn't he get a touchdown that game?
No, not this game. Not this game. So I got it. But I was doing the Chris Berman tick, 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 tick the whole game, just screaming myself delirious off of my red eye flight on Monday Night Football, screaming tick, tick, tick at the screen. And I call it the infamous Ryan Nall game. I think he had like no snaps until this particular game, no snaps until the fourth quarter. And then I think he started to get rushes. And I was like, why are you giving him the ball? Nevertheless, I won the Ryan Nall game, which is how I refer to it.
That's fantastic. I love that story.
Yes.
I just would like to piggyback off of Dan and Shelly here for also AB. A couple things I like to look at here is just target share, snap share, stuff like that. And as good as Emmanuel Sanders has been, he's just been hyper efficient, which is bound to slow down. I mean, 2 touchdowns last week, 2 touchdowns in week 3. He's really only seeing 5 to 6 targets a game, 3 to 5 receptions a game, where AB is seeing anywhere from 8 to 7 to 8 targets a game, so a couple more a game. But he's consistently getting about 5 to 7 receptions as well. Purely off opportunity, I think that AB just has a larger target share in terms of opportunity as well. Even though there's so many mouths to feed there, he's a trusted and favorite target of Tom Brady. I mean, for hell, he lives in his basement still probably, and they shower together every day. So I would say go with the shower narrative and stick with AB.
You think he's ever brought Giselle a bag of dicks?
Definitely need the air horn for that
one. and shout out to Anna Jimenez coming in the house. If it is a female, I mean, leave it to the female to come and crack the whip on the chaos, right? So guys, put as much info as you can when you ask the questions. It just makes the answer more relevant for you.
So he walks in with the bag and Giselle's like,
he just like throws it at her. He just throws one at her. Hey, Giselle.
Might sound wrong, yeah.
All right, dark horse for me is Jalen Reagor, but perhaps it's my 42 shares of him dictating that enthusiasm. Isn't it true how you could talk to yourself with the narrative just based on your ownership?
Too bad Guilds is going to be a Quez Watkins night, just to spite him.
Yeah,
Eagles have figured out Guilds' ownership percentages.
I own quite a bit of Reagor myself. He was free in drafts, like around 11 through 13. And there's a reason why he was free. We're seeing it right now. But it was nonetheless, Tampa Bay is down to two people in the secondary. They already have a bottom 3 defense in the secondary. If there was ever going to be a game for Jalen Reagor, it's this week. One could argue that he's flex worthy, especially with buys and injuries. And I have starting him in a couple leagues out of desperation just because of injuries and buys, but it's not with confidence by any means. But I do think that he's a flex consideration this week against Tampa Bay.
Did we lose? Dan stepped out there for a sec.
Hey, think for myself for a question for you guys. Kenny Gainwell tonight, is it too cute to play him thinking that it's going to be a Kenny Gainwell pass catching
over
night?
who? Over who?
Okay. I was trying to avoid it, but since you pressed. Dude, I have one team where I had to spend $400 on Devontae Booker to have somebody in the bag.
Damn.
And I hate it. And I really don't want to play Devontae Booker, even though I just spent that much. I still think Kenny Gainwell is the right play. I may end up having to do Booker anyways. But in a contained question, Booker versus Gainwell, maybe Booker gets if they get close to the goal line, maybe he gets that volume. But I think Gainwell is the play here from a pass catching perspective. Maybe being down, maybe getting a little dump offs, maybe some garbage time stuff. I definitely don't think it's a Miles Sanders game. So let me throw that out there.
It hasn't been a Miles Sanders game since week 1. It's just that's one of the players I think I've missed the most on. I just loved his ADP and his skill set. Just the coaches refuse to use him. And then we see Gainwell's involvement in the red zone and his passing game involvement, which had me immediately concerned after I saw the first 2 weeks. Gainwell has been repeatedly the back inside the red zone who last I checked was like number 3 or 4 overall in the league in red zone receptions or targets, I should say. My fear though is that this Tampa Bay defense is going to have to be through the air because this Tampa Bay rush defense is one of the best if not the best in the NFL. That being said, Booker did see an 88.2% snap share last week, and that was with Barkley even starting the first couple series. So I'm going to say that number is going to be more like 95 to 97%. I'm going to play the player who's going to be on the field that much because opportunity to me is king. And although I could see what you're saying, like look what just happened with Myles Gaskin last week. Right. And you're hoping for a similar reaction from the coaches and utilizing their pass catching back because that's the way to beat Tampa is through the air, not on the ground. And so I can see your narrative that you've built in your head, but and I agree with it, but nonetheless, it's hard to argue with a 95+% snap share.
Slightly too cute.
I think it's too cute. Like especially in the backfield, you want to see who else is there to take take touches away, right? And I mean, with Barkley hurt, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. Gainwell, and you know what's going to happen, right? Like you said, Billy, a bunch of people will sit Sanders tonight, and he's going to go off, for those long down the sideline bombs he was doing last year. A couple of those, and then everyone's going to regret it. And so I think your safer bet is Booker, and Gainwell might be a little too cute, especially if you spend the money on Booker.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying though, because the Rams defense is no joke either. So
that's my worry.
It's a tough matchup, but you just spent the money. When else are you going to use them, right?
That was really like I spent the money.
How many times, guys? How many times have you done that? Where as FFBC, you go in, you spend a big load, and then you're like, "Fuck, I can't even get him in my lineup."
It's like I was so panicked. I was like, I got to spend the money. I'm going to feel better if I spend the money. And now it's like I don't want to fucking use him. I don't like this guy. But I feel better that I have an option. I like giving myself a pit in my stomach thinking about options. So
you also look at Thursday Night Football, and you just never know. Like it's Thursday Night Football is the night that just like random things happen, right? Injuries happen, and I just try to stay away from Thursday Night Football whenever I can. Like you're not sitting Brady, you're not sitting Evans, you're not sitting in these studs, right? But when you can sit somebody like Gainwell on Thursday Night Football,
I got to stare at that red 1.2 for the rest of the weekend until Sunday.
I was gonna say I've never
1.2.
I've never regretted not starting someone on Thursday nights, but I've often regretted starting someone on Thursday nights. So
there's always that like trap too. I feel like everyone's like, this could be the Gainwell game, and I feel like that's the trap. It's a trap.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so Shelly and I, we share a team, and we just bought Dan Arnold. Very excited about that. Nice. And then I'm looking at the lineup, and I'm like, yeah, but we don't really want to use him this week because we got RSJ going against Kansas City. So it's like RSJ's gotten a lot of targets. Dan Arnold against Miami, that's not bad either. But it's going to be a tough decision there.
Dan, we got to take Damian Williams out of our starting lineup in pros versus pros. We putting Gordon in or what?
I think we gotta.
It's either Gordon or like
the next question.
Pardon me?
Well,
good natural transition to the next question.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice job.
This week,
you're a professional.
Professional.
Well, I'll tell you, Jimmy, if we put Gordon in our lineup, that means this is definitely the week for Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I'm trying to see who else we have. We have Sermon on bye. We have Carson.
Yeah.
Hines.
I mean, if Carson plays, it's okay, but You know,
So I don't
one
think
seems
that
way.
anybody will take over this Denver backfield unless there is an injury or a trade.
Yeah,
I
agreed.
think we're going to see a combination 1A, 1B all year. I've fallen for the trap in each week and have started the wrong. I own both of them in a couple and have started the wrong one each week. It's just one of those things that like you may have every process in the world and it's just going to break down to one big run or a long catch and it's going to separate the two. And the next thing you know, they're getting the bulk of the carry. So it's a hot hand approach. But this week with the injury, I think is as good a week as any as Javonte Williams will take over this backfield. If you have another option, depending upon that option, you may look that way, but based upon where you probably drafted him at ADP, he's probably your best option. And you probably starting him, especially with the Melvin Gordon injuries.
I mean, 17-week season. Go back to it. Like the Bronco rational coaching says Javonte Williams is a better player, but rational coaching also says, why am I going to burn either of these two guys out if they're both performing? So like I'm sure from their perspective, like as long as they're both producing when they're in, to your point, whoever breaks off the big runner who's got the right blocking in front of them, I think the Broncos management is in no hurry to declare one guy over the other.
No, they don't give a shit about your fantasy lineups. No. Like for them, they're winning games.
Agreed.
Right.
And if I'm a coach in those scenarios, I definitely rather they share the backfield.
Yeah.
Unless you have like one guy that's way better than the other guy, and but otherwise you want them to share the backfield if you're coaching.
Yeah. I mean, I hate it. But they're
like if this team starts losing, like they lose 4 or 5 straight, we get towards close to the trade deadline, Melvin Gordon's probably gone. And then at that point, you can rely on Javonte Williams. But until then, this is a shared backfield and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I would just like to point out that it's just like fantasy football, that we have all these other backfield injuries and illnesses and everything else going on. And yet, it's going to be Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams staying healthy for the full 17 weeks. And we'll never get a Javonte game or a Melvin game.
So I just want to pull it. I have not done for this backfield yet. So I'm going to pull it up as we're talking here. Snap shares. I'm just curious how close it is to 50-50. Javonte Williams is 44.6% of snap shares weeks 1 through 5. And then we have Gordon is at 54.5. So if Gordon's in, if you want to use snap share data, that's your indicator, but with injuries that may flop this week as well. I'd still probably lean Javonte just because he's got the fresher legs. He's younger. You could see the burst. You can see the strength. And I'm not even a big Javonte Williams guy. I called him Thomas Rawls 2.0 when he entered the league. But he's looked better than I anticipated, quite frankly. And I think it's just a matter of time before he starts seeing, the 50+% of the snap share, where Gordon starts seeing that 40%.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Just to have some clarity on that backfield would be nice. Just if it started to lean 60-40 or 65-35, that would be fantastic. Because then
And if you don't know, now you know.
But then again, if they hit 65%, now you're just talking Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell. Does that have much clarity?
Yeah, it's a cloud of.
Well, that might actually be a usable situation if they ran the ball more than 3 times a game. So,
God, I'm so tilted from that because I own so much Miles Sanders and he's just been sitting on the bench because I picked up Cordell Patterson in a lot of those leagues, and I'm just sitting there staring at him like, you worthless POS. Like you're just getting 2-3 runs a game. Yes, you're averaging 7-8 yards a carry on those touches in those games, but no, they don't want to use you.
Nope. Gotta put them in mothballs, save them for next week.
Did you see the games where like they're trying to kill the clock and he runs out of bounds? Just like I feel like he's trying to get traded. Yeah, twice. Exactly. And like
why
he spiked the ball right in front of the coach. Like he's pissed.
Yeah.
God. So you're saying they wouldn't have to carry him across the goal line?
Yeah.
No, he'd run it in 100%.
Yeah.
Would you guys sell Russell Wilson for Baker Mayfield and J.K. Dobbins, Superflex, if you're in a rebuild? It's not enough,
Absolutely.
Right? You would for those two?
Yeah, I mean Dobbins is going to come back next year. It wasn't like it.
I feel like Baker and Russ are closer together than, you know what I mean? Like if you're looking at value wise, they're pretty close. You think J.K. Closes that gap?
For me, it's a matter of where's Russ going to play in 2 years as well, right?
Mhm.
He's not going to probably not going to be on Seattle. I don't know how old he is off the top of my head. Is he 33, 34?
I'll look.
I can't tell if you're using the moving on as a positive or a negative yet.
No, I think it's getting
He's
him.
going to San
Carroll.
Fran, right? He's going to San Fran, isn't he?
Yeah,
Please, somebody
32.
get him away from Pete Carroll.
32.
That's all we care about.
He's 32. So 32. So he moves away from Pete Carroll. He loses DK Metcalf. He loses Tyler Lockett. Arguably,
Good point.
Top 10, if not top 5, 1-2 punch in the NFL, right? So where does he go? Okay, the O-line can't be much worse. But, in the other regards, Baker isn't that great. I mean, he's young, but he's been underperforming. But nonetheless, Dobbins coming back, I think, is enough to sway that for me. And then it all depends upon where you at too. Who your QB2 is, if you have a QB3, if you don't have a QB3, I think all those are considerations, right? Then where you're expected to finish this year in the draft. Are you able to pick up a quarterback in the draft next year? I think all those are considerations. If you're, top 4, top 5 team, you're probably not get a quarterback next draft. I'd still probably do it.
If anything, I'm selling because I need to kind of reno this team because I kind of end up in the middle. So that's why I'm trying to sell some pieces.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd probably take it just because I'm a huge positional player, though. I mean, I feel like you can always, even a super flex, a quarterback always outplays ADP, and whether Baker does it this year, next year, he's going to have a longer shelf life than Wilson, and eventually he'll put up more points. But the points that you're going to collect from Wilson and from Dobbins once healthy versus the points you'll put up from Baker and Dobbins once healthy versus Wilson and let's just say Danny Williams, right? Or some random person next year, you're gonna outscore on the Baker and the Dobbins for the next 4 or 5 years.
Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Billy there. I mean, I think Baker's a usable piece for sure, and we don't even know if he's going to be in Cleveland in 2 years.
True.
So, he could end up, looking for someplace where they'll allow him to throw the ball a little bit more. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing for him, but that's probably what he's going to look for.
And especially if Cleveland doesn't take that next step, that's definitely more of a possibility, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious how Cleveland's going to be playing it this year, but and probably next year too. But past that, I think it's possible they could let Baker bolt, or else they're going to try to lowball him. One of the two.
Well, they also got to put up a moving van and have movers move them out of the stadium. That's another.
Oh yeah, true. By the way, Anna thinks that our advice sucks. So.
Wait, what is it?
She says Russell Wilson for Baker.
Well, I think J.K. Dobbins.
No, it's not. It's not Russell Wilson for Baker.
Exactly.
It's more than that.
But
if it's just Russell Wilson for Baker, that's a smash no. But you throw in Dobbins, that makes it to where you at least lean that way.
Anna, we accepted it. Anna, we accepted the offer. The trade has gone through. Now we just have this Debo. Actually, let me ask Billy. Last one, and then you guys can throw your starts. But since you're a Debo guy, it's a late-ish first and an early third for Debo that I'm being offered. This is again the same rebuild.
Hell no, you're giving up Debo?
Yeah.
No, he's like wide receiver 3 on the year right now.
Oh, so that's the last question I have for you. Where do you see him like moving forward? Obviously now, like is this
ceiling?
So where do you think he lands? Like where do you think the comfort zone is?
Like, we're at ceiling right now. I think he's going to settle in somewhere between like wide receiver 12 and 18.
Okay.
In my opinion, like top 3 is kind of ridiculous. It's not sustainable. I don't think for this offense, especially with the quarterback roulette that's going to happen. Nonetheless, we've seen now that Kyle Shanahan has, all the love and trust and faith in Debo. I mean, look what Ayuk has been nearly non-existent. So yeah. I think that as long as we have Kyle Shanahan here and Debo, he's going to be the lead in targets in this offense. Plus his yards after the catch ability is second to none.
Mm-hmm. Well, you don't have to sell me on Debo. Trust me, I love me. He's my most owned dynasty player. Is Debo?
Yeah, I don't think you give him up for a first and third. I stole him from somebody. I gave up. I think it was like I forget who it was. It was It was a steal. It was borderline like Bill Cosby style. It was like Denzel Mims in a first. It was like Denzel Mims in a first.
I don't know if I
Debo.
should do the horn or like some other sound on that one.
Yeah, it was bad. I got Debo in it. I was happy. No, it was I gave up Corey Davis in a first is what it was for Debo.
Oh, that's
Okay.
And so I still think that's a heavy favorite to Debo, but you know, that guy was in a rebuild. But I love Debo. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL.
no, same.
And loved his cost, especially in redraft this year. Like
it's free.
round 8, 9, beginning of the
Literally
year,
free.
he was free.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I got some shares in best ball. I just didn't get enough in managed leagues, unfortunately.
I'm gonna pull up my ownership.
I have them
right
in
now.
all the leagues we're in together.
So FFPC ownership in the FBG is 22.5%.
Nice.
In the main event, he is at 40%.
Wow. Nice.
And then in best ball at underdog, he was at 47%.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Nice. I love it.
I mean, I went all underdog. He was going higher too. He was going in like because it's the start 3 wide receivers, but he was going I think in like round 7, 6 over there, which is still a value compared to where he's been playing relatively. But I went all in on him over at underdog.
Yeah, sounds that way. And that's got to be working out pretty well for you right now, I would guess.
Yeah, last week I counted it. So I only did 40 underdog drafts, counting the big dog and the $25. I forget the name of that one, but it was 20 of the 40 were in first or second place right now over there, which is, was that 50% pass through, which is phenomenal. But it was primarily Debo, owned a lot of Cup over there. And then surprisingly, some of those teams have Dobbins still too. Like, but the wide receivers have just severely outperformed ADP.
Yeah, that works out pretty well. Definitely.
So do you guys have any big like start sit type decisions to make this week? Any tough ones?
Oh, hold up, Dan. Sorry. Breaking news.
Oh,
Tyreek Hill is not expected to play Sunday in Washington per source.
oh, damn. That helps.
So
your question.
That helps your question. I wanted to get that to you now.
Wow.
That does not help our roster, though, Dan.
Put that in the oh no category. It just made me sick to my. That's a real sick to my stomach.
All right. So, well,
Was that a Hardman time or Josh Gordon time?
Kelsey.
Kelsey's banged up too.
Yeah.
I guess it's more Darrell Williams too. Maybe more McKinnon.
yeah, could be McKinnon. Man, that's not going to be great for Mahomes either.
Yeah, that's not good at all for that offense.
The Chiefs haven't looked the same this year, though.
Nope,
No.
not at all.
Their defense is atrocious, and it's forcing Mahomes' hand to make passes that he wouldn't necessarily have completed or thrown in the past. And although they did spend a lot of resources on this line, it just hasn't shown to the same degree that you would expect. But this defense has to take a step forward. This is going to be a rough year for the Chiefs.
Yeah. I wish I had read it. A better content creator probably would have read the article instead of just reading the headline. But I plan to. I think it came out like later this afternoon on the Ringer. Ben Solak did a article about focused on the issue is like teams haven't been blitzing Mahomes, so he hasn't been just like picking them apart with his like IQ and his arm. So he's actually they're able to get pressure with 4. Is the point. And I think that's really made a difference when you think about their banged up offensive line, which is obviously the problem in the Super Bowl. A lot of issues compounding on the Chiefs. But, for those who want to do some homework with me, after the pod and during the Thursday Night Football, I'm going to read that article from the Ringer later tonight.
Love it.
Keep reminding me there's a game tonight. I got to set some of these lineups that I haven't set up yet.
Well, that's why we'll plan to be off about 20 minutes before so we can all frantically.
Totally. And guys, smash the like if you're hanging out with us, drop in some questions in the chat. We're here on Thursdays. We'll try to be here as often on Thursdays as we can with our new tailgate session here. We only do it an hour from 7 to 8 Eastern. So hang with us, smash the like, drop some questions. And we got a little Josh Gordon over Waddle. What do you guys think with that?
Waddle.
Wouldn't even think twice about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't think twice about it either.
I think anyone that's played for more than 1 year in fantasy football chooses everyone else but Gordon in any question.
Yeah, I added him on a lot of tournament teams for $1 just for like dart throws. It's tournament. Yeah, you have to, right? It's this type of scenario that you dream for when you own them for you pick someone up for $1, but I even in the dreams, I'm still starting Waddle this week over him.
Yeah, you got to see something from Gordon before you can start really throwing him in there. But I did the same thing, Billy. I've got I've got a lot of Josh Gordon because when he, the first waiver run, he really didn't get picked up in a lot of places. I was surprised. I thought he'd get picked up in more, so I didn't even really bid on him in quite a few. And then so I went back with the second waiver run, I was like, oh, I can afford to lose this guy for a week or two and and just put him in there. And like you say, just a couple bucks and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was literally like my third or my fourth down on my big groups, and it was just $1 and we I don't have a lot of money in a lot of those leagues because I'm an Elijah Mitchell guy. And so, yes. Where I stand on fab budget now. And so everybody is $1 and $2 bids moving forward. And so I was happy to see that I got him for $1 in a lot of these leagues. Because I saw him go for like 800 and some, 700 and some, which is stupid. And then, you're able to sneak him by for $1 in a lot of these.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I've got a ton of Elijah Mitchell too. So Billy, you and I are kind of running the same kind of teams. I think I'm sitting there with like $45 a fab left to get me through the next 5 weeks. So
yeah, I have like 3 that are under $16 right now.
Oh, under 16?
Wow.
Yeah. It's like I got like a move or 2 a week for the next few weeks.
Yep.
I haven't been that aggressive this year. I got to admit, I haven't really seen anything. But Anna, obviously, I mean, she's here every week. We got to give her props, and we appreciate the support. But she obviously, listening to the show, has her share of AJ Dillon pieces in the portfolio. What do you guys think? Is it AJD season? Are we, is he a nice flex? What are we thinking moving forward here for 2021?
I'll go first. I think that he's perfect if you went wide receiver heavy, and he's like the guy you got for the RB2 spot, like instead of Hines or instead of Pollard. I would say that if you could get AJ Dillon there, I would not be attempting to flex AJ Dillon. So like I think he's like the perfect candidate of like RB2 if you need somebody.
I see what you're saying. More of a bye-week injury fill-in.
Yeah, but having said that, like I'm going in not having expectations. So like the question, are you trusting the trend? No. But am I happily playing him because he's my RB2 because of the rest of the roster construction? I think that he's a fine RB2 with like minimal expectations. And if he pops again, great. You probably won the week. That's where I'm at.
I think that's fair. They're definitely starting to trust him a little bit more in the passing game. He's starting to get some targets. They're putting him in on the goal line some, so he's slowly working himself into, a better position usage wise, where it's not just the empty yards that he's getting. So I'm feeling better and better about him. I'm still not to the point where I'm going to, just like be super happy jamming him into my lineups. But, if I need him, I need him. And, I don't feel too horrible about sticking him in there when I need him. What do you think, Billy?
Don't buy.
I'm
he brings his own sound. What a profession. He brings his own soundboard.
That one was quiet. I got to turn that one off here.
I like it.
I've never been an AJ Dillon fan. People drafting him off his legs and stuff. That's how I feel about AJ Dillon. I mean, his involvement, it's his role is increasing, but he's only seen the 32% snap share on the year. It's hard to play. Right. It's hard to see the field when you're playing behind someone like Aaron Jones. We've seen him now with 17.9 fantasy points last week, 10.7 the week before. But prior to that, 4.6, 3.6, 3.6. I don't trust them. I think it's hard to trust them. If you're in desperation, sure, go ahead and throw them in. But if you have options,
Yeah.
I'm looking elsewhere. I mean, the Bears are a top 12 defense against the running back in terms of fantasy points given up. So I am I'm not leaning on him this week. If you have other options, I don't like him. I don't trust him, and that's not going to change this week.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say is he's starting to get all the short down and distance work. So we are seeing that target share. 11% last week could have been a fluke. But yeah, snap share is basically right around 1/3, and so that's still the toughest part to swallow. And his share of the rushing is again right about 1/3.
Yeah, 30.2
on the season. Yeah, so
I just threw Josh Gordon into the lineup for that team I'm rebuilding that I asked you about those 2 trades just because I got to play him. I picked them up off waivers for $1, I think, or something. So throw them in there.
Not with confidence.
Not with confidence, just for fun. Just for fun.
Hey, when you're rebuilding, you can do stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they're like, you're throwing. You're like, no, I'm seeing what talent I have on my bench.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like that. You use that in the DMs,
So we got to get Shelly had something he was
Yeah, I pinged something.
Oh, that's right. Go ahead.
So I had to write it down for my own memory. Choose one. Stone Age League, Muzio. Non-PPR. Choose one. Keenan Allen, AB, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins. These are all very Shelley players, except really like AB. I love Pittman, love T.
So sorry, hold up. So it's Keenan Allen, AB, T. Higgins. Who's the last one?
Michael Pittman.
Okay, and it's standard.
Yeah, standard. I love Keenan Allen, but I am thinking it is time for me to move off of Keenan Allen for a minute, which I hate because I just like having pieces of that Chargers offense. So maybe this goes back into like the is this too cute segment. Should I just roll with Keenan Allen or go with AB, Pittman, or T? That's really the question. Let me rephrase
The only other player that I would even consider starting over Keenan Allen would be T. Higgins, who seems to always find the end zone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're facing Minnesota, who has, that hasn't been looking the best on defense either. I'd probably say I'm favoring Keenan Allen. Second is T. Higgins, AB, and then Pittman in that order.
Okay. So this is another don't get cute. Keenan Allen, Chargers offense. Herbert, he's not had the touchdowns yet. He's going to get there.
And I understand why, though. I mean, you look at the matchup. Cleveland Browns have been pretty stout across the board against quarterbacks, wide receivers, and against the run. So I understand the hesitance to start him this week. If there was anyone I was going to do it for, it would be T. Higgins. But I'd still say, I'm not a guy who just says start your studs either, because I think there's a lot of matchup, based data that can be used in arguments that can really sway someone to start one or the other. Is that getting cute? Maybe, but I think that the data still supports Keenan Allen over T. Higgins just based upon the amount of targets he's seeing per game.
And I think that's go ahead, Dan, please.
Yeah, I would go with that. The other thing that you have to think about is that you've got Mike Williams, who has either didn't practice or practiced on a limited basis today, but he's looking a little bit more shaky. So that's another just thing that might throw you a little bit more towards Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest struggle this year, and literally every other year I rarely do a good job with this, even though I know it's a problem. It's like the guys whose talent I believe in, I move off of them way too late. Like the Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson is like this year. Like I may continue throwing them out there, barring injuries. I got A-Rob, I don't know if he practiced today, but like those guys, it's like so hard for me to move off of them when I believe in their talent.
It's like Allen Robinson, right? That's prime example.
Yes. Yeah, it's just like, well, I'm gonna keep rolling with them because I believe the talent. It's just like it's gonna take lost 17 in a row for me to realize that was a bad decision.
So I have a start-sit question here too, and this one I'm extremely salty about because this is inside of Dave and I's the High Society. It's a $10,000 league, so it's the FFPC league. we have gotten this running back start sit wrong every single week, 5 weeks in running now. And that's, I pride myself typically on like having running back start sits. Like on the Fantasy Pros right now, I'm the number one ranker on running backs for the year. And this is driving me freaking crazy. And because this league has been
delicious
wrong.
irony. You got to it.
Yeah, exactly. I talked about this with Dave and Bradley. I was like, it's driving me nuts. So start 2, Javonte Williams, Myles Gaskin, Melvin Gordon, James Conner, Chase Edmonds.
Wow.
Yeah, running back dead zone across the board.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's every week. I've picked the highest scorer right every single week, but I've then picked the lowest one every single week. So I've gotten at least one of 2 right every week.
And Miami's playing Jacksonville, right?
Miami's playing Jacksonville.
Rooting for fun says, which is like where like I default to, because like I'm more of a psychopath than I am a good fantasy player. Rooting for fun says Javonte and Gaskin.
Okay, that's who's in the lineup right now is Javonte and Gaskin.
Okay, I think that's fun. That for me feels like the most fun to root for. You get the London game, you get to watch my Jags, poor defense, try to stop Gaskin through the air and ground. That's going to be a delight. And then Javonte, I just like rooting for the rookie over Melvin Gordy. So that's where my mind's at.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough with Arizona going up against Cleveland.
Yeah,
in Cleveland, and Kyler's shoulder potentially ailing a little bit. On the
which
one hand,
could favor Edmonds.
Yeah, which could favor Edmonds, but on the other hand, if they're just simply not moving the ball that well, that's bad for all the running backs. So
correct. So would you confirm then Javonte Gaskin?
I think that's the way I'd go.
Okay, I like that.
Yep.
So that way when it fails this week, I'd be like, hey,
yes,
everybody said.
I'd take Edmonds. I think I'd throw Edmonds in there.
So Edmonds has been the one we'd started every single week outside last week. We sat him last week just based upon the questionable tag and everything that happened. And we threw Connor in and then we saw what happened with Myles Gaskin on the bench, which was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But so up until last week, we had started Edmonds every single week, who's been that lead scorer across the board. And then we had thrown in James Conner on the weeks that he didn't perform.
Right. Yep.
and then like we had that first week where Melvin Gordon had that 70-yard rush, and then we had Myles Gaskin's take off. So it just seems like every single week we'd missed that number 2. This is the second week in a row we haven't started Edmonds. So
yeah, for what it's worth on the podcast for the past 2 weeks, I've been calling for Edmonds to have a smash week coming up soon here. Just because he's so involved in that offense, and I think he still hasn't scored a single touchdown yet, if I remember right.
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head, actually.
Yeah, and not a single touchdown.
Are we in the time frame of soon? How many weeks is soon, Dan?
Soon would be like within the next. Well, I said it 2 weeks ago, and I was thinking probably within the next 3 weeks. So,
okay, all right.
Can I ask you guys, and this might apply to your question, Billy? What's your tiebreaker? Like if you've got 2 or 3 guys, I know I start pulling out I go to my bookie and I start rocking like the totals, what the over-unders are, who's favorite, like you when you're really, really not sure, like what's the tiebreaker for you guys? Is there 1 or 2 things that you use as a tiebreaker? Billy, I'll go to you first because you're kind of.
Yeah, I first and foremost, I always use like snap counts, right? I take a look and say who's on the field the most, right? It's always easy to say I can start X player over Y player based upon matchup, which is another tiebreaker. But whoever's on the field the most, like with Shelley with his Booker and I forgot who the other guy was already because it was
Gainwell, our boy tonight.
Gainwell, thank you. So it was, for me, that tiebreaker is like is snap share. Like with someone seeing like 90% or 80% versus like 30 or 40, right? You go to who's on the field more, who has the opportunities, and who's going to be able to capitalize on those opportunities. It's going to be a lot harder for somebody who's seeing 30% of the snap share to capitalize on that opportunity and to score for somebody who's getting 80 to 90%. Then I also take a look at defenses and how many fantasy points they've given up, because fantasy points versus like rushing statistics in the NFL are 2 different things. right? Like you have somebody like Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are one of the best rush defenses in the NFL. But in terms of fantasy points, there's some better rush defenses in the NFL as well. So you take a look and say, because Tampa can get burned through the air easily, where running back can still score points through the air. So I like to look at that as well and say, hey, who can be beat where by what position, and in terms of fantasy points, not just statistics.
Yep, makes sense. And that's pretty much what I do. I mean, JD has definitely gotten me more into the, looking at Vegas lines, and if all else fails, I'm generally going to go with taking the running back from the favored team, even if there's nothing else I can do, just because they're more likely to be salting away the game. So
something I look at too. Quick one, rapid fire. Sit one of these guys: Devontae Smith, Allen Robinson, Jacoby Meyer, Tyler Lockett, Stephon Diggs.
Meyer.
Yeah.
Meyer and then Lockett, based with Geno Smith starting.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what was the one right before? What was the one right before Meyer?
Allen Robinson.
A-Rob.
I know, man.
Yeah.
That's why I asked. I see A-Rob there, and it's like,
man, I think it's Muzio. I think it's a debate between A-Rob and Lockett for who's the next sit. But I agree. Meyer was my gut reaction.
Yeah, it's my gut reaction as well.
Especially with Dallas, the way they're playing defensively, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tavon Diggs has been amazing. Defensive player of the year so far.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I love when I watch Hard Knocks players actually perform on the field.
Yes, because you feel like you know them. It's my buddy. That's my buddy out there, man.
It's my friend Trayvon.
That's my friend.
I'm an uncle to his kid.
You go to some family. Well, I go to family reunions up here. They don't know about football. So, that's my cousin. That's my buddy right there, man. That's hilarious. Any other tough ones, guys?
Oh, I asked the one for me that was driving me nuts every single week.
Nothing.
And if not, what game are you looking forward the most this week? Like, there's some good ones. Arizona, Cleveland. Like, what are you looking forward the most? Whether it's your fantasy or just like NFL pure football.
For me, it's Chargers and Baltimore. I've loved what Justin Herbert has done. He was my QB5 in the year to go into the season. The kid is just phenomenal. He's just been crushing it. And on games that's mattered the most, he's had some huge games. And I'd like to see what he does against Baltimore with them, with the momentum that they have moving forward, and just see how he reacts. But I'm still going to say Chargers win, even though I believe Baltimore is 1.5 point favorites?
I'm not sure. I've
looked at it right here. It is Baltimore minus 2.5.
So there you go. Went up.
Yeah, I kind of like that 2.5 Chargers.
Yeah, I took the Chargers in my pick'em leagues, and it was 1.5 on that spread. So
it's in Baltimore.
It's in Baltimore. Yeah.
Okay.
Over under is 51.5. It's up there.
Man, I got to find another one. That's a good teaser candidate. Again, Dan, we all know. I think it's the tease through the 3 and the 7, and I think that they're the perfect candidate to get them through the 3 and the 7 there.
Yep.
Find another team though.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
What do you guys think with the Raiders? Just with this whole Gruden thing, not to get into that, and I think it is what it is. But like fantasy wise, does anything change with these guys? Like fantasy wise, is there an opportunity here that maybe our audience can take advantage of?
So I think it definitely changes. Anytime you have, the captain of the ship go down, leadership, it can go a long ways with the team. So I would say that momentum, or any momentum that they had prior to this, is going to be, deflated. When you have an interim head coach, yes, he's been a part of the program, but different mindset, different different set of values. I think it changes the entire culture of the team. Plus, it's like a dagger, right? This team just lost their head coach and they lost their captain. They're going to have that kind of pulled out of them, whether they're playing for him or they're sad because of it. I did have like Brian Edwards as cut list, Kenyon Drake as on my cut list, but I held on to him for another week just to see what the new coaching system does.
That's very, very good. Very good.
So like I didn't go through. If you have second waivers or you're thinking about cutting them, like hold off 1 week is what I want to say. Just see what happens. Like, who knows? They may say, Gruden was an idiot and he wasn't getting Brian Edwards involved, and we're not just going to throw to him in the fourth quarter. We're going to throw to him in the second and first quarter. And so hold off on those players and see what happens this week, and just see if that involvement or that game script or the game plan, I should say, changes any. And if it doesn't, great. Okay, go ahead and throw him back on your cut list. But in the meantime, hold off and see what happens.
It's funny. Dan asked the question today. It was a trade question, and Ruggs was involved. And between trying to make dinner for the girls and trying to get a tweet out for the show and, whatever else, trying to give my daughter a bath and all that, as I was going to say to Dan, like, the biggest worry I have with the trade he asked me was exactly that, was with the new coaching. Like, who knows what Ruggs' role becomes? Does he continue this progression that we've seen this year that that's finally come, or does this offense just totally change? I mean, we have no idea, but that's a great point, Billy, with regards to the new coach coming in.
Yeah, and I think you probably, want to wait and see how the team reacts, because I mean they can do one of two things. I mean, this could really bring them together and could unify the team, or it could be something that kind of puts them into sort of every man for themselves. I'm gonna worry about my own self, and I'm not gonna worry about anybody else. I'm out of here as soon as I can, or whatever. And so hopefully they'll come together. The other thing is, of course, Greg Olson is not John Gruden. And, there's some things that Gruden does that I like, and there's some things that just kind of drive me a little bit crazy. And, one of the things is I definitely, I don't understand why they haven't been throwing to Edwards more. I don't understand, why they sometimes go away from Waller for long stretches. And so, just a little bit more consistency on that. Kenyon Drake, you paid him all this money.
$11 million.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you might want to get him the ball a few times and see what happens. I think we all know Drake is not gonna, he's not gonna be a league winner or anything like that. But I think he could be a better complement to Josh Jacobs than Jalen Richard and Peyton Barber for sure.
Yep.
Guys, we're at the 1 hour, man. We're at the 60. I know Billy's got to go finalize some lineups. I know I do. All of us probably do. But Billy, man, always a blast having you on. Could go on, all night type of deal. I had a million other questions for you.
This is a fun concept. I like it. Just sitting, drinking, having fun, chatting with the boys. It's a lot less structured than what I do on my shows, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love
all the pictures of your oat milk hazy IPAs. If you send me a picture of your oat milk hazy IPA, I will retweet it for you.
I'm at a grocery store, right? I'm going to send you like 15 of them now.
There it is. I found the button.
Send them separately. I'll retweet all 15.
I'd be surprised if I found one, honestly.
Guys, follow all three of these savages at Overhype Sleeper, no E on the end, at FF Muzio from the Fantasy Data, and our very own AMS Schellenberg, the GOAT himself. Guys, appreciate it. Anna, always a good time. We appreciate you hanging with us. Boys, what was that? Jimmy Pops?
Jimmy Pop.
You guys were awesome, man. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys hanging out. Smash the like. That's your best way to show the support. And good luck. Good luck this week, guys. Week 6. Enjoy the game tonight and have a great weekend. We'll check you all later.